Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. In the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from Earth 616 to the Mojoverse to the TVA in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble, Volume 239. Brace yourself, Brent. We're 1 week away from the universe being changed by a single movie.
I thought you were going to tell me winter was coming when you said that.
The power, the greater power in the Marvel universe is about to change.
All right. You know what? I hope it does, because otherwise, for that particular distributor, we're looking at a strikeout. So I hope it does.
Well, how have you been, Brent? It's been we took last week off for Thanksgiving, but did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it went really well. We had a couple of them, one at my in-laws, one at my parents, separated by a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the zoo. They have this thing called Glow Wild, which is basically just a bunch of lights and stuff on stuff. It's not even necessarily Christmas lights, but it's a bunch of lights, and it was cool. The kids like it. They, if nothing else, they were able to get funnel cake, and they love the funnel cake, especially my daughter. Oh man, she loves the funnel. My son likes it, but my daughter is all about that.
Some of my college friends, we went to a fair at that point when I was still dating Erin. She introduced them to funnel cakes. They had never had it before, and it changed their lives.
I mean, I get it. I personally really like it, so I didn't get any that night, but I certainly rather enjoy it.
Yep, we are doing well, Piffa Jack. Yes, the build up to Craven is here. The hype. Well, I don't know about that, but
less than a week from now, I'm not sure what time you're seeing it, but I will have seen it. Like, that is the plan. Is I will have seen it. So.
Yep, Dalton. Happy holidays to you. Yeah, I've got my tickets for 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I had an option for a 3:30 show, but it just was going to complicate a lot of things for us. So I just said, you know what? 7 o'clock, I'll get it in, and under 2 hours.
Is that the runtime, under 2 hours?
Maybe it's just a little bit above 2 hours. I think maybe 2:09.
Okay, my show time is for 5 o'clock Central. Okay. I'm gonna be pushing it a bit to make that, but they have a 6:30 that I can easily make, and I know that the movie tickets, buying tickets, everything was a bit crazy the last couple of weekends. I'm not really that worried about it for this one, so I think I'll be all right.
But Sony put it out there. It's the holiday movie of the year. Wicked, watch out.
Wicked,
Moana, your time is over. Craven is going hunting.
That's right. Oh my gosh, ridiculous. Craven is coming after Hey.
Can you cook him? Yes, he's going to cook him. So yeah, my Thanksgiving was good. I had my in-laws coming to town, so my children were very happy. They love their grandma and their papa. So. It was a nice, quiet family Thanksgiving. So we are.
Good.
Yep. Yeah. Piffa Jack saying I will not be seeing it until it goes to streaming. Sony hasn't impressed me enough to go to the movies. If I didn't see Venom 3, Craven isn't going to do it for me. Well, I get it.
I respect it.
Trust me, we will see it for you. So we can enjoy, if you've gotten a chance to see our Madam Web review and maybe some of our Venom reviews, we have a lot of fun reviewing it in the sense of having a lot of good laughs. Morbius was a good one to watch.
And I maintain that Morbius was just fine.
It was fine.
It was just fine. I'm hoping for this, but if I'm open to the possibility that I'm going to enjoy the movie. Am I going to enjoy it, say, more than Deadpool and Wolverine, the other, Marvel movie that came out this year? No, not likely. So I guess it's not impossible, but it's highly not likely, especially with the love that I have for the Deadpool character. Brock, it's Morbin time. I see that in the chat. But I'm open to the possibility.
And I'll be clear, there's a difference between my hype being very low for this and me not being high up in it versus the opposite saying, I hope this movie fails. I never hope a movie fails. No, I don't want a movie to fail. I don't want things because, again, as I said before, and it's been shown to be, these movies, when they don't perform well, hurt the Marvel brand. They do.
I'm coming
they
around
do.
to that opinion as well. You and Snell, well, you two, but Sony themselves have sold me on that line of thought. I didn't used to feel that way. I'm coming around to it. It's too many duds in a row. So
And you
we'll
know,
see.
Venom 3 internationally, huge hit here in the States, not so much. But again, they made the money, and as we said, it
That
proved.
franchise has always it's a hit. That franchise
Yeah.
is a box office hit. There's no
Anyone who
getting
says
around it.
otherwise, I will look them in the
They're
face
just
and
wrong.
I don't like the movie. You are still wrong.
They're
So.
just wrong.
But all right, so we do not have Marvel news this week. They're still recovering from Turkey Day down here. So we do have a fun one for you tonight. We're going to be looking at our top 5 favorite MCU Disney Plus episodes. So before we get into that, we're going to do the lovely show plug. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network with 6 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers, our dollar tiers, our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job, and then our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon exclusive shows. We have 2 shows on there for Marvel Alliance. We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance Infinity Saga rewatch, 24 episodes covering the Infinity Saga, and then our recently concluded show, Tales from the House of X, where we watched our favorite movies from the Fox era of X-Men. We had Deadpool 2, The Wolverine, Logan, X-Men, X2, X-Men First Class, X-Men Days of Future Past. So that was our final episode, dropped last month. Marvel Alliance will be taking a little break from Patreon content until sometime in the new year when we develop our next idea, next theme for what we're going to be breaking down. So hopefully you're enjoying that. We've got the DC Alliance guys doing their DC films through the years. Joe's doing his Multiverse Minutes with his Disney Deep Dives, and the 1st and the 15th of every month. He just dropped one this week, Lady and the Tramp. He dropped some interesting gems in there in the sense of behind the scenes of that movie. So check it out if you haven't already. But if you're not a member of our Patreon, go and join www.patreon.com/GUA Network so you get that lovely back content. And if you're not a member of our Patreon, take 30 to 90 seconds, rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for our omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with excellent customer service, immaculate packaging, ships around the world. Got some new final order cutoffs. This is a big month on the Marvel side for new Epic collections. We've got ROM coming into the Epic collection. We've got, look at this, Brent, Ultimate Spider-Man coming into Epic form to the Epic format, the Ultimate Epic format.
How many issues are in that thing?
Let me give it a quick look-see. We've got issues 1 through 13, so the first 2 arcs.
There's some good stuff in there.
Yep. So great way if you're not a big Omni collector like I am, the Epics are a great alternative for that. Great, well put together. A couple of here we go. We're concluding the Spider-Man by Michelini and Bagley with Volume 2. That Omni coming into print for the first time. I've already pre-ordered this. This is the cover I chose. The DM, if it wants to come up, there we go. Look at look at all those Spidey villains.
I love it. Ooh, Cardiac. Haven't seen him in so long.
So
nice.
Use that code MarvelGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order. We want to use it a limited amount of times. We want to thank them for being our official sponsor. All right, so like we said, Marvel news. You know, again on those weeks, sometimes we do take that week off. But we already did that last week. We just did that. Even though we dropped the Deadpool Patreon content at that point, we want to make sure we're not taking advantage of you all and give you some content. So I came up with this idea yesterday. It's something we haven't done. So we're going to look at we call it a top 5. It really comes down to our 5 favorite MCU Disney Plus episodes. So Brent has a list of episodes that are his favorite. I have a list. I have some backups if he chooses ones that were going to be on my list, and I'll bring that up.
I'm sure we do. I'm sure we have some.
Because again, good content's good content. I think I have some ones on there that I may just put in there on my top list just to spice it up a little bit, because legitimately every one of these are some of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, and I've when you suggested this, I'm like, oh, great, I'm basically done because
No, when you
I
said that, I was like,
already
how?
I maintain a list specific. Like I maintain this list. Like for whatever reason, I'm like, this is my list of like, when I watched these episodes, I just felt like I was watching something special, and that's really what they are for me. They are the special list, if you will, and one of them on here. I don't think most people would agree with me, but you'll get it as soon as I tell you which one it is. You'll be like, all right, that checks out.
The final episode of Secret Invasion.
That is not on the list.
Ah,
You could make an argument it's special, but it's special
a
for
very
how bad it is.
special episode.
Special for how bad it is. So that's a little difference there.
That if you are new to Marvel Alliance, check out our basically series finale review. Because you will never hear Brent and I. You don't hear Brent and I really just lay into a show and lay into disappointment. That was That was a very special episode. So if you haven't checked that out, check out the final episode of Secret Invasion. You will have a good laugh at our expense. So, all right, Brent, I'm going to give you first dibs at choosing which one is though. Mine aren't ranked. I know you said you ranked yours, but feel free to put yours out there in whatever order you want to do.
All right. Well, I'll start with what is my number 5, and maybe at the end I'll tell you my 6 and 7 for a couple honorable mentions. This is the one that I'm probably the only person that would agree with this. I think most people will get with all the others. Let's just pull the Band-Aid. She-Hulk, Episode 8, Ribbit and Rip It.
All
Chris,
right.
why is that one on my list?
Oh, you do like a little bit of Daredevil in your life.
I do like Daredevil, and I was so excited to see him back. Let's see, season 3 ended in 2018.
But say that title again. Just say the title again.
Ribbit and Rip It.
Yep.
I mean, I like the show in general, but Daredevil is just one. He is my second favorite Marvel character, and unfortunately, he's the character that I can't guarantee is going to get new content all the time like I can Spider-Man. So him coming back, keeping the same overall costume design, just different color scheme. I like that they did the yellow, and they even played the theme music. Like, I loved that they did all that, and it was so great seeing and having Charlie Cox back in the part. That is why that episode is on the list. It's because of Daredevil. That doesn't automatically mean in the future every single episode of Born Again would be on this list, but for this case, at this point in time, it's on the list.
Well, I will match your She-Hulk and do another She-Hulk at that point.
Okay, all right. Bringing in Kevin, I bet, but let's find out.
Yes. Whose show is this? She-Hulk episode 9. I was very tempted to do that, but I said, I'm very confident you were going to bring that in, Brent. But I'll tell you what. Before I go into why this is on my list is, yes, Brent. We knew Daredevil was going to be the show. They put it in the trailers. They released images of it, and every episode we were literally on Daredevil watch. And we got to the point saying it's gonna be in the last couple of episodes. They're building towards it. They were building towards it, and just to see him not just back, but in the yellow costume that we had never seen in live action before. That was a real treat. And the bantering back and forth. Tatiana Maslany and Charlie Cox had some great chemistry. With
that just feels like an understatement at this point.
and she had some fun with him, in more ways than one. So
what is it she said? She smashes through glass walls and ceilings and Matt Murdock.
Yep, Matt Murdock. So I totally get that. But yeah, so this is definitely on my list. As you said it, the literal break. I mean, this episode they doubled down on the crazy and the outlandishness, and when she basically paused, when we were like, wait a minute, why is this guy becoming the villain of it? Why are we having Bruce show up again all of a sudden and like literally breaks the fourth wall? Like, we knew this show was going to be taking tips of the hat to the John Byrne era, the Dan Slott era of the She-Hulk run. and they went full on breaking the fourth wall, her breaking through Disney Plus, going into the real world where she meets Kevin, Kevin, the artificial intelligence claiming to be in charge of the MCU. Chef's kiss. Absolutely. This show ticked off so many of the, you know, neck bearded, hate the anti woke, whatever you want to call it.
The villain's
Tods.
name was Todd. The Tods.
And I loved every minute of this. This was just basically they knew what they were doing, and they almost it was great. The banter back and forth, saying maybe bring in some X-Men in there. It was a lot of fun. Now the ending where we suddenly get Banner bringing in Scar, that was I was like, oh, really? We're doing this too? Okay, why not? But so I don't know if we're gonna see Scar again, but we did get a mid-credit scene with Wongers and breaking out Blonsky out of prison to take him to Kamartaj. So
Yeah, it was just a fun show, and you're right. That was another great episode. Fifth of Jack asked if that was the episode that Daredevil and Shield-Grin, is that the one with the walk of shame? And I just want to point out, I say it's the stride of pride.
Some people hate that, saying that ruined the character Daredevil.
I say to them, no, it doesn't.
You need to read more Daredevil because Matt has taken many walks of shame.
Strides of pride. Strides of pride. All right, I'll go ahead and go to my next one. I have a feeling this might be one that's on your list.
Okay.
But X-Men 97, episode 5.
Yep.
Remember it.
Yep.
That episode, even before what happened to Gambit in that episode, it was already a great episode. There was I wish I could have rewatched some of these before it. Mm-hmm. There was so much cool stuff. You know what? I'm going to say it. The Ace of Base song.
Yes.
That was straight up banging. And that was a great scene. It was just beautiful.
It worked
animation.
So well. It worked so well.
I could not get that song out of my head for weeks afterwards.
I think it climbed the charts a bit too.
I played it in my Apple Music. I could not get it out of my.
It may be in your Wrapped. It may be in your Wrapped.
It's not. I looked at it. I looked at my Apple Music replay. It's not in there. But you gotta remember, or you didn't know this, but mine includes my wife's listening and even my son. My daughter's separated, so there's a fair amount of Imagine Dragons in there. That's all my son. He's a big fan of 2 or 3 of their songs. But regardless, X-Men Season 1, Episode 5, remember it. Such a cool episode. So many fun cameos in the background and fun things to see in the background. I just loved it. I don't even know if I would call it my favorite, but I do think it was truly the best, and you just knew this is special.
Yeah, and there was just all these different elements going about with the return, the building up of Genosha as the mutant haven, this huge banquet. You knew something was going to be like. It was one of those things like they couldn't allow them to be happy. They couldn't allow the mutants to just have this moment out there. They had just overcome. Madeline Pryor, the whole quote unquote sinister spell had just been broken over her. All these mutants coming together. Dalton's asked him what song from Ace of Base again?
It's called Happy Nation.
Happy Nation, yes. And then basically the quote unquote breakup of Rogue and Gambit, where Rogue basically chooses Magneto, and just that moment where Madeline senses something and Cable suddenly shows up, and we're like, wait, what? What's happening?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And basically the Frankenstein master mole sentinel creature destroying and just literally wiping out Genosha, and just got the way Gambit just it does that hero moment, and when like he has been mortally wounded by him and just takes his powers one last time, says the name is Gambit. Remember it. And we knew going into that episode, we saw that title, because they did a very good job with the titles. Like, you kind of had an idea based on some of the titles that who was going to focus on. But as soon as they said, remember, said this is going to be a Gambit episode. But as the episode was going through, I said, oh no. And I said it in our review, and I'll say it again. I got a little teared up at the end, and I said, "Oh my gosh, this show was able to do it. There was real stakes in this."
Right, and it maybe meant a little more. Again, we talked about this during those reviews and stuff, but to those of us who watched the show when it came out back in the 90s, I don't remember when it started, 92, 93, whatever it was. We had that version of Gambit like as a part of our lives basically for the entire time, and it is so seeing like there's characters who always felt expendable, but that core group, like basically the group that was in the first couple episodes of the show minus Morph, we never really thought that about, right?
Yeah.
And Morph, that much great character now, but it is, yeah, like they just did it, and watching that show was like, and watching that episode was like truly like this happy joyous thing, and then you're just like jaw to the floor dumbfounded and just sad just so sad at the end of it.
Yeah, it was, just one of those moments, and who would have thought that there was a reason why people look to X-Men 97 as the as a quintessential moment for Disney Plus this year. So yeah, and the Watcher in the background, Brock, the Watcher in the background. All right, so let me see. Where do I want to go with my next choice? I gotta be careful. I think my next. All right, I'm gonna go with this is, you know,
I would go with the next one on your list.
yeah, I've got options. How about this? How about Ronin, Hawkeye episode 5?
All right, all right.
So we get our look back at Yelena, fellow Black Widow Sonya have been helping to deprogram Black Widows reunite, and this is how the show opens. And then all of a sudden, Yelena kind of splashes herself, and then all of a sudden we see the dust, and we're like, and this is not the first time we've seen it because we saw it in We Interrupt This Program, WandaVision episode 4. We know what that is. We said, oh my God, she was dusted. And that whole thing, and there's a whole different thing of what happened. She comes back to a world, and this is after she has the this is after the previous episode where we saw her and try to take down Clint and Kate Bishop. But that interaction with Kate and Yelena in Kate's apartment, oh, I'm sorry, I will never get enough TikToks of that scene. Mm-hmm. I bookmark those TikToks just because that you want to talk about great chemistry. Oh my gosh, all day.
I still want a movie with the two of them, or a special presentation, or a dedicated episode to the rumored Hawkeye season 2 that's happening. Just something with the two of them together for an extended period of time.
Yep, but then we get even in there the backstory of Hawkeye's time as Ronin. That was some interesting stuff. We get to the backstory of how Maya really comes to be. But the ending, we see who we were predicting all this time, who Uncle was, and who was it, Brent?
The big man, Kingpin himself, Wilson Fisk, Vincent D'Onofrio was back.
And the way the episode ended with the song, "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch," and then how it ended with the final credit with him looming, the silhouette there. I love that episode, and you know what? It is a Christmas holiday. It's time maybe I give it for my first rewatch.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I wouldn't mind picking out at least a couple episodes, even the final couple. Watch Kate Bishop and Kingpin fight each other for a while. That could be fun.
You gotta rock out with. You gotta love that Hawaiian suit too.
He chose it straight from the Spider-Man Family Business. I think the story is comic storyline. So, Vincent D'Onofrio is the one who chose that.
Yep.
It needed a little tailoring. Let's be real. It needed some tailoring, but it was just like Charlie Cox, who a day later we would basically see in Spider-Man No Way Home. That at that time it was so great to see him back as the Kingpin.
Yep. So, all right, your third choice.
All right, that's going to take me, and maybe a bit controversial choice, but I'm going to stand by it. We're separating the art from the artist. We're looking at this in a vacuum. Loki season 1, episode 6, For All Time Always. Loki and Sylvie make it to the Citadel at the end of time. They basically, there's no getting around it. They have to deal with Major's character throughout the whole time. He Who Remains is there, but I've just always loved that episode. From the moment I saw it, it was my favorite episode of Loki season 1, and is it a little tainted for me now? Yeah, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But
Not wrong.
but I still, for what it was at the time, don't think about anything else that happened in the future in Ant-Man or Loki season 2, or in the real world where real things have consequences, and because reality is obviously more important. But in a vacuum, For All Time Always, I love that episode.
Yeah, it was definitely on my list. Now we knew by that point Jonathan Majors had been cast as Kang, but what we did not know was that he was going to be in the season. So when that elevator door opened, we just went, "Oh my god,
Yes.
who is that Kang?" And then when he called him like He Who Remains, it was just like, "Oh my god!" And him weaving the story of how they came to be. Oh my god, they're going there. They're really gonna do this. They're totally doing this, and the excitement that led to with that episode, it was just like, yeah, it stinks of what happened and what could have been, but man, that the way it ended with Loki being put in a whole different timeline where it was nobody knew who he was, and Kang was looming large in that timeline. Man, that was a very spooky ending. And for the first time we got our confirmation, the end credit was Loki season 2, our first season 2 for a Disney Plus MCU show.
Yes, and it was so weird to not have a credit, like a true credit scene.
Yeah.
I mean, we had gotten one earlier in the show, like when he woke up in the the void, purgatory, whatever. Wow, I'm blanking on its actual name right now. But we'd gotten that one, but not having one at the end of the final episode, I was surprised. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure I lost a Fact or Fiction on that one, but it was still such a great episode. And you know what? If nothing else, I would take the season 2 commitment versus another scene every time.
Yeah. All right. My third choice is Truth. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 5. When that episode came, I saw that title on there. It says, "Oh yes, please." We had already been introduced to Isaiah Bradley, but taking that episode title from the miniseries that introduced the MCU to Isaiah Bradley, the backstory behind the quote unquote first Captain America, and especially coming off of the previous episode where we saw basically Home Depot John Walker kill someone around the world with Captain America's shield, with the blood on the shield. It was interesting. The opening of it where Bucky and Sam are having a knockout, drag-out fight just to rip off the shield and take John Walker down. That was epic within itself. Walker receives an other than honorable discharge, and and then afterwards being approached by Valentina. We don't call her Val.
Don't call her Val.
Yeah, don't call her Val. But also, what makes this episode really, I said it then and I'll say it again, the conversation that Isaiah Bradley and Sam Wilson have, where Isaiah goes, "No, they will never let a black man be Captain America, and no self-respecting black man would ever accept it." And you hear his history, you hear exactly what they did to him, and why he feels that way. I can understand, especially how he was betrayed and felt betrayed by his government, and where Sam feels like he can be that difference. And we see the Flag Smashers go and take over the UN meeting, and we don't get to see the costume yet, but we do see him open up the suitcase from Wakanda. that gives him his new suit, his very comic accurate suit.
Yes, extremely comic accurate. And we'll get to see that here pretty soon, and I'm glad for that. Not for the whole movie, but I'm glad we'll get what we do out of it.
Don't forget about that mid-credit scene where Walker's building his new shield from scrap metal and Home Depot parts.
Yeah, that didn't work out for him.
That was so funny.
I'm actually curious about in Thunderbolts where he gets the shield that he ultimately has there.
Yeah, it's seen some better days.
Yeah, but that's a great episode that you picked, and you did mention that fight scene with Sam and Bucky versus Walker, and I love that fight scene so much. And there's a moment where they basically break his arm, pushing his arm back, and it is intense and visceral and just brutal, just such a brutal moment. And it's one of those scenes I've gone back to and watched that fight scene more than once.
Yeah, especially you got two people that love and revere Steve Rogers.
Yep.
And Walker, who they think is just a joke, and it literally just sullied his name of what that Captain America represents to Steve. And you can already tell, like, Sam realized long ago before that, but says, I need to make up for this, for giving up the shield even before I even had a shot at it. So, but before we get our final two choices, we're going to take our ad break right now. So listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud, so give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right, Brent, what's your next choice?
Well, let's stick with Loki. Okay. We'll go to the season 2 finale, Glorious Purpose. Second time they've used that title. I believe it was season 1, episode 1 title.
Yes,
that
was
also titled Glorious Purpose. But for season 2, episode 6 of Loki, this is where we had Loki at the end of his rope, desperate, trying anything, time slipping back to season 1, episode 6, to the conversation with He Who Remains in Sylvie, trying to stop Sylvie there, time slipping back to the beginning of the entire show and his conversation with Mobius, and just desperate to do anything that he could possibly do, and eventually the loom just wasn't cutting it, and Loki himself becomes the person to hold the branches of reality together. And as far as we know in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he is somewhere still sitting on that throne and holding reality in his hand.
Yeah, no, that was on my list as well. And especially the literal Groundhog Daying of how many different times he had to go, and how many, like, what was it when he talked to OB that, what do you know about, like, I can't remember, like quantum physics or something. Assume I know very little to nothing. Yeah. Like, it'll take you, like,
how long would it take you to learn?
It'll take you, and he literally took that in time to figure it out, and still got nowhere in it. And the callback to the line he used, what was it, in the first Thor?
For I can do it, Father. In Thor, he says something like, I could do this, Father, for you, for all of us. And he basically mimics that line in this. And if I remember right, Tom Hiddleston said they were talking about what his last words should be to everybody, and it came to him while he was on a walk. Yeah. Just re-listening to some audio and some stuff from the first Thor movie, and he thought, that's perfect. That's the time to bring it back.
Yep. So, great choice. Totally agree with it. So, my next one, again, these are in no particular order, so I don't think it's, how can you rank this number 2? These aren't ranked. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? What if season 1, episode 4?
Great choice.
So yeah, after in these what if episodes, like, this is the episode I think is on most people's probably top episodes for right now, the 2 current seasons, the final season coming out in 2 weeks. 3 weeks.
It starts on the 22nd.
So
I'm not doing the math.
Yep.
Not doing the math.
So yeah, 3 weeks. 3 weeks from now. So, it's very simple. Like, Christine Palmer dies in the car accident, and he, after that he goes to Kamartaj, learns the mystic arts, and discovers the Eye of Agamotto manipulating time. So he's warned by the Ancient One and Wong, like, don't do it. You're going to destroy the time. And 2 years later, He keeps on using it to try to save Palmer. And what does he discover every time he tries to save Christine?
Can't do it.
Can't do
The
it.
timeline says nope, she's gone.
So he starts dabbling in the dark arts and dark dimension and starts trying to do it. And he just starts mutating into this extremely dark version of Strange that we have illustrious named Strange Supreme. And ends up destroying his reality. He begs the Watcher for help, but he refuses to intervene. Palmer disintegrates, the universe collapses, leaving Strange Supreme to grieve alone, watching other worlds exist. So a very tragic tale, but man, this is an outstanding. Hey, we've got I know it's probably on your list, but 2 animated episodes making our top 5.
Yeah, and the Strange Supreme episode. I mean, is that the single best episode of What If? Probably, it probably is.
I could see an argument for it.
There's definitely other episodes I enjoy quite a bit, but man, that episode is just so good. And I know, especially that first season, I really have problems thinking every episode needed 3 to 5 more minutes, but that's the one that did it the best. And even though season 2, I feel like they did a better job of giving the shows that time, they still did, like, that's still like the individually the best one. And the way it ends, if we had never seen Strange Supreme again, it's a tragic ending and it's okay, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. Now, I'm glad that we did see him again. I feel like to me, the later appearance doesn't cheapen what happens in this episode, but I enjoy it, and I really enjoy the sacrifice that he made at the end of this point and where he is at this point in time.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So, all right. What's your last one on your list?
The one I would have is number 1, and this truly I think is my number 1, even though it doesn't have Daredevil. WandaVision, season 1, the only season, episode 8, titled "Previously On."
Okay.
This is the episode. One, it's the penultimate episode, and those are always great. But 2, this is the episode where Agatha takes Wanda back through her life, trying to discover how Wanda has done what she did with Westview, with all of these spell castings that she's not even doing consciously, that she's not paying attention to. The spells are active from miles away from wherever Wanda is at any given moment. She's giving all these people these different lives, and how is she controlling everything? And they lead you through Wanda's life from her time back in Sokovia as a kid to her time with Hydra, where she first comes across an Infinity Stone, to where we get an image of the Scarlet Witch. We get the episode opens with Agatha and her coven trying to kill her, which we know, if you've seen Agatha all along, you know how that goes for him. But it's just, this episode is a powerful episode, and if it doesn't have arguably the best damn line in the entire MCU, definitely in the conversation, I don't know, but it's "What is grief if not love persevering?" That line is just incredible. It's an incredible bit of writing on that part. Vision, walking through the walls, and they kind of talk about him using the doors and stuff, or it's a callback to in Captain America: Civil War, where he doesn't use the doors. But he sits down, he's talking to her, they talk about the TV show they're watching, and he says that line. And it is truly, I mean, obviously "On Your Left" is my favorite line, but sorry, Heinz, but it is just, that line is so incredibly delivered, and it just feels like the best line from the best episode from, well, it's not my favorite show in the MCU. It is many people's favorite shows in the MCU. It's my wife's favorite thing, period, from the MCU, movies, shows, any of it. And it was truly, truly amazing when that came out.
Yeah, WandaVision starting off the MCU's journey using Disney Plus to continue building out the universe in the height of COVID. It was our first Marvel content, and at that point, what were we at then without Marvel content?
Oh God, 500. I don't know. I'd have to look it up now. I've thankfully forgotten how many days it's been, but it's well over 500, because Spider-Man Far From Home came out in July of 2019, and it was supposed to wrap around to May of 2020 for getting Black Widow, but we went all the way instead to January of 2021 for WandaVision season or episode 1.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's a great choice. It's a very good episode, and I'm gonna match it with another WandaVision. Again, this is just top 5, not on my
Now I'm
list.
trying to think. The Halloween episode.
Nope.
I took a shot. All right. What do you got?
I went back and forth.
do
The
you
other
got?
one will become an honorable mention, but I wanted to do this episode truly being a Wanda and Vision focused episode. That would be on a very special episode, WandaVision episode 5.
Good choice.
So yeah, so we
Good
get
choice.
and I love, I thought how they opened every single episode with what the time period for the particular show was. I love Family Ties. I've again, watching those reruns, Michael J. Fox. I just love how their homage to it, and 1980s, 1990s setting. Wanda and Vision struggle to stop Billy and Tommy from crying. Agnes offers to help look after the boys, and Vision questions the behavior. He starts trying to figure things out. The whole thing with Sparky the dog. Vision's reading an email from SWORD that reveals the situation going on in Westview. The whole fight at the end where he's now saying, "What did you do here, Wanda? What is going on here?" And then at the end, we get a visit from Pietro that we did not see coming.
No,
Especially when you go to the captions and then the
Yes.
hearing impaired saying, and up open the door appears Pietro from the Fox X-Men
Really
movies.
jacking with us there.
It's like, what? So yeah, and that was the pivot episode that really, I mean, the previous episode is now on my honorable mentions list, but yeah, this one I really, really enjoyed.
Well, I think you made a great choice. That ending just blew everybody's minds. Oh,
It
man.
blew Snell's mind, and then when we found out the truth about who he really was.
WandaVision was a moment in time,
Mephisto confirmed?
Mephisto confirmed, right? Mephisto sort of confirmed and Agatha all along. It was just
Stay tuned for Ironheart.
The whole title is just special. And it was a moment that we're not going to get back. It was a phenomenon. Like if you go back to like TikTok back then and stuff, like everybody was talking about it. If you talked about this stuff, you talked about WandaVision in a way that you didn't talk about, frankly, every other show that's come out. Loki arguably has been the closest, but even it wasn't in the same of what WandaVision did. And it was just such a fun time to be a part of it. And I'm sure people like the show who, watch it for the first time today, but to be there then for it and to have that to look forward to every week, loved it.
Yeah. So that's our top 5 list. What are you have a few honorable mentions. I have a few too.
Yeah, I got 2 of them. So that was my top 5. So I'll go ahead and give you what would be number 6.
And to be clear too, I think most of the ones on Brent's list, with the exception of 1 or 2, would have made my list. Are on my list as well.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and mention Agatha season 1 episode 7, Death's Hand.
Oh wow,
Mine.
okay.
That is the hand where basically the Lily episode where her mind is jumping back, forward, and backwards in time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even sure if it was my favorite episode of that show, but because I really like the Billy episode where we get his past and stuff. But
That was a good one too. Yeah.
which was the week before it, I believe. But this episode was just so incredibly and cleverly crafted in the way that they did it, and the way that I'm a sucker for some, I really like the Groundhog stories. I also like non-linear stories, and man, did they do some non-linear storytelling in this.
Clones.
Yeah, I do. Oh, I do like clones. Yes, give me a clone and one of these other story tropes, and I'm in. And the way that she bounced backwards and forwards, and yes, she dies at the episode ends with her dying, and or I'm sorry, it begins with her dying and it ends with her as a young girl just beginning to learn her craft. And she's kind of in this perpetual state of, at least my interpretation of life, of always going through it. But she's smiling. She knows what she's incredibly well done.
Yeah, it's I can't argue with it. I think it's a good choice, and I'm impressed of something that recent has already made even an honorable mention. That says a lot
Like I
about
said, you just know when you're watching one that is special.
yeah. So, what's your other honorable mention?
The other honorable mention one would actually be from Moon Knight episode 5, Asylum, which this is the one where, well, it ends with the giant hippo, but this is basically where our two personalities of our two personalities actually get to meet and truly converse with each other as they're inside their minds in this asylum, and we learn more about his life. And for that, like, we learn more about Mark Spector's life. And I really enjoyed this episode. This absolutely was my favorite one of the show, and I think of that show, and I think it was the best. And it's just, I enjoyed the show. I do hope they revisit it. I hope Oscar Isaac comes back and we get to see, give me some Jake Lockley or whatever. But this episode, I thought, wow, that's a really good, strong episode. And so it's right now, it's on my list of number 7.
Okay. Yeah, my two that are for honorable mentions is the one I was going back and forth with to make my top 5. That would be We Interrupt This Program. WandaVision episode 4. This is the Monica Rambeau focused one where this is the first time we've seen the blip take place in the aftermath. The opening of that episode,
so intense.
That was, I mean, that was the first time we'd seen it. We'd seen anything like it, and they revisited, like we said in one of my earlier ones with Ronan, with Yelena, but that was the first time, and that was a heck of a way to open it.
We'd gotten a comical version of it in Spider-Man: Far From Home, and it was funny. Yep. Don't get me wrong, but here, like, they showed that was showing us from a survivor's point of view.
Yeah,
this we saw it from Monica's point of view.
First, seeing her mom be dying of cancer, and then to wake up 5 years later and not say goodbye to her mom.
So crushing.
And then how she got into Sword, how she got to this point in WandaVision, learning about what's going on. And, Darcy and Wu unsuccessfully attempting to use the radio to contact Wanda. Rambeau mentions Ultron. Wanda casts her out of the town. It's really a strong episode. It could easily make my top list. Just, it doesn't take much to push something in or out with it, but it's definitely a strong episode. And my last honorable mention is No Normal, Miss Marvel episode 6.
Yeah.
So this is the final episode of Miss Marvel. This show, again, very critically acclaimed. I think there were 1 or 2 episodes in there that were a little bit dodgy, but as a whole, I really did enjoy this. I thought I applauded Marvel for bringing this in, and not just her taking charge of her powers, taking charge of what she wanted to do. The sequences, not only when she's going around and using her powers, the kind of the first person viewpoint that they did with it for a bit, but her defending her mosque, her people, her town, and town. I say, like, her basically her borough at that point. She became the hero of Jersey City. And when she's looking at herself in the mirror, the confidence, you juxtaposition that with the first episode where she's trying to make sure not to hide anything, because again, they did very good job in the show trying to be very honoring the culture. And as she said, like, a brown girl from Jersey City is going to be a hero. That's all she's strived for. The ultimate fangirl gets the ultimate dream of being a superhero with powers. And that show did so much, in my opinion, to elevate not only the character, but elevate little girls that either look like Kamala or just little girls in general to see, like, oh my gosh, like, I see myself in her. And just seeing how that it concludes that season or series, and you get the mid-credit scene where the bangle takes her back, and we get back Carol Danvers leading into Miss Marvel. Yeah, No Normal will definitely make my list.
I think that's a great choice. I like it.
Yeah. So, but all right. Yeah, hit us back with comments for next week with maybe some of your choices. Do you agree with ours, or do you have other things that could make your list? Share it with us. Yeah, hit us up on DMs or tweet us at that point. We'll read them next week. So, but yeah, let us. Do we have any questions?
No, none came in this week. So,
Okay. No worries.
None came in, but I believe you're up for Fact or Fiction.
Yep. So let's take our last ad break
Yes.
before we get into those. Listeners, as you know, these ads help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they could be a bit loud, so give it a 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right. Let me pull up Fact or Fictions. Even when I have it pulled up, Twitter wants to revert back, so I'm going to dig through it again.
Yeah, it does. Did it offer you 40% off of
No,
Twitter or whatever?
That was enough of an annoyance during the Thanksgiving holiday.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so these were yours from last time. Fact or Fiction number 1. Morbius will appear in the credit scene for hashtag Craven the Hunter, and oh my gosh, your hashtag now has an emoji tied to it with a spear.
Of course. Yep.
Of course, So, yeah. 17% said fact, 83% said fiction.
Okay.
Yeah. So, number 2, Val is not the real owner of Avengers Tower and will be revealed to be working for somebody else by the end of Thunderbolts, asterisk, who is the true owner. 44% said fact, 56% said fiction. And then number 3, Captain America Brave New World will have the 3rd highest box office of the Captain America movies and the 3rd highest MCU box office of 2025. 29% said fact, 71% said fiction.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
there we go.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. The people have spoken.
Yeah. I mean, this, and that gets some interesting talk in our group chat. I remember too. Talking about it.
It did, yeah.
So
I don't think it's going to make as much. That doesn't mean I don't think it's going to be a good movie. That doesn't mean I don't even think it'll be profitable. I just don't think it's going to make as much as the others.
Yeah. So
certainly not as much as Civil War. This thing, it's not clearing $1 billion.
Yeah. So, all right. So my turn this week. I kind of geared it around our theme of Disney Plus shows. All right. Let me see. I thought I had it pulled up right there. All right. Hold on. I might have made a last-minute change, so I want to make sure, because I put this somewhere. I want to make sure. Okay. Yep, I'm glad I checked it. All right. She-Hulk.
Okay.
We started off this. We started off with this, so why not bring it back?
Sure.
She-Hulk will not be referenced in Captain America Brave New World.
I think I have the opposite of that somewhere. Either I've said it before, maybe it was one of the annual ones,
yeah.
But I'm gonna go fiction on it. I think we'll get a reference.
I would like to see a reference.
I don't think we'll get an appearance, but I think we'd already know about it if that was happening.
Yeah,
but I do think we're gonna get just a throwaway reference.
A throwaway reference I could definitely see. It's just this whole idea of, how much are they really wanting to separate themselves from certain shows that they feel did not do their justice. Do they want to draw more attention to something? I don't see the harm in it, but then again, I'm not running the business. So, will she be referenced? I think right now, it's still going to be a throwaway line, like you. So I say fiction on that as well.
Okay.
But again, I will not be surprised if she is not referenced whatsoever, and just
Yeah.
just falls back to being Bruce.
I
think
won't. I won't be. So, oh, Bruce, I feel is a lot. If they get through this movie without referencing the Hulk, I would be stunned. I mean, you have the Red Hulk. You have the leader. Isn't Liv Tyler supposed to show back up, or is I don't know about that one. I may have read that one somewhere. That may be fake, but just the leader and General Ross. Like, how do you not bring up the Hulk?
Yeah. All right. So the next one, Miss Marvel will cameo in a potential Hawkeye season 2. So we've heard some rumors going around that Hawkeye season 2 is getting more and more looking like it's going to be greenlit. So I basing it off of the Marvels movie credit sequence. I'm going with Miss Marvel will cameo in a potential Hawkeye season 2. I'm a definite fact on this. What about you?
Yeah, I'm a fact on it. And for the record, Variety did report last year that Liv Tyler was going to be back in Captain America 4.
Yes.
So
yes.
I was like, wait, I was just talking myself out of that. But yes, they will definitely reference Bruce. And I think Miss Marvel will go because I think that'll to kind of lead on or pick up, where it left off. We're recruiting the Young Avengers or the Champions, whatever they're going to be called. And yeah, I mean, I hope they do. I'd love to see more of those two together. I feel like, while maybe not to the same extent of the awesomeness that is Kate and Yelena, Kate and Kamala could still be a fun pairing.
Yeah. And then Wanda will make a cameo in the new Vision Disney Plus show.
Oh man! Wait, I wish I knew when that was coming out.
We know we know. Here's the thing. This isn't speculation. We know the Vision show is happening. We know it's happening.
Is it happening before Secret Wars?
But that's not the question.
It's not, but it changes my answer. Basically, because I don't think she's back until a possible Doctor Strange 3, King Dynasty, or Secret War. Like, it's going to be something like that where she comes back. And if Vision Quest happens
no
first,
you're I didn't say that.
You said a cameo in Vision Quest.
I said cameo. I didn't say necessarily.
So you're saying like a flashback would count.
It could be a flashback too.
Okay,
So
right.
so there is a way.
New footage?
Yes, I will agree with new footage.
Okay, but it could be a flashback.
It could be a flashback.
All right.
So that's why I worded it very carefully.
Okay. I'll say fact. If it was in the present day, I would say fiction. But if flashbacks count, I will say flashbacks of new footage count. I will say fact.
And so the reason I brought that up too is if they're really bringing this also from the Tom King run, there is an issue of a major flashback with him and Wanda.
Yes, there is.
So
that's a good run. If people haven't read it, well, they should read it and then go back to the very beginning of this show when you and Travis went through that book.
Exactly. I think
that was your first one, wasn't it?
I think so. I think so. So. But yeah, so all right, I will post those on Sunday, so let your voices be heard with that. And let's get some comic book club going on. Yes, our buddy FIFA Jack is I know he's reading along with us.
Yeah, I read this last night. Young Avengers.
I did too.
Issue 7, starting the next part. The next part of the storyline, and that first page where the Young Avengers have captured the Shocker. I'm not gonna lie, I would have liked to have seen that story because Shocker is. I've always liked his design, and he's such a goofy character, and like Spider-Man's there, kind of making fun of him, and I would have liked to have seen it. I won't lie.
I just love how Spider-Man like Luke Cage says, Shocker, one of yours, isn't he? It used to be, but I'm an Avenger now, Luke. I've got Ultron and Galactus and Kang the Conqueror to worry about.
And that's when it's like, well, the kids killed Kang, so you don't have to worry about that one.
Yep, FIFA Jack says I just finished 5 minutes before you guys went live. So totally agree with that. So yeah, it's a nice little. I wouldn't necessarily call it an interlude. It's just kind of like we're just, we picking up where we left off. It's just like we're not really setting up too much yet. We're just kind of seeing where these heroes are at. and it's kind of like a peer into the life of where they're at. We get our first look at Wiccan's home life at that
Hmm.
point with Teddy, and you gotta love. He's about to admit the powers, and it comes off like they think he's officially coming out as gay, which he is.
Yeah, I mean, he is gay, but that's not what he was gonna
I
say.
know, yeah.
I loved his parents' reaction though, especially his dad's. Like his mom's like, "It's okay, we knew," and his mom, "I didn't know. Your mom had to tell me."
You didn't pick up on the signs there, Dad. Sorry. And then we flash to Cassie's stepdad and mom, just doubting, necessarily hoping that it's not Cassie taking on the mantle, and they're saying like, wait a minute, she doesn't get her powers naturally. He has to take the Pym particles, and her stepdad's kind of a jerk, pretty jerkish.
Yeah, not as nice as her stepdad in the movies.
Well,
Definitely
he
not.
was a jerk to Scott, but definitely seemed to be a good.
He was a jerk to Scott in the
Yeah,
first movie,
yeah,
but he was a good step parent to Cassie the whole time.
yeah. And so we flash to our Patriot, looking at Eli hiding his uniform from his grandmother, but then seeing his grandpa, who is Isaiah, and saying, "Grandpa, you all right?" And he's looking at the Daily Bugle, and you just see tears in his eyes
He
that he
knows.
knows.
He knows.
Yep, that
And
he's proud. That he's proud of him.
yeah, they managed to show the pride on his face. He
Mhm.
knows.
And we get Tony and Captain America looking at this new vision. Like, this is not a vision that there is from their time. It is basically a clean slate vision from what they're basically describing.
Yeah, they call him a kid. They're like,
Yeah.
he has the powers and he has the capabilities and the emotional capabilities, but he doesn't have experience. He doesn't have any of that. So he's let's see, what's the quote? An incredibly powerful, super intelligent kid. Well, they've already got enough of those.
How about this? He literally was born yesterday.
Yes, excellent reference acknowledged.
Yes. But yeah, so they're all kind of meeting up. All our young Avengers are getting ready to meet up, but Eli's missing, and he seems to be going on his own to do a little crime fighting on his own. Well, he gets discovered, trying to do this kind of a drug bust, and gets discovered. I don't know if he's gotten shot, but he looks to be. These guys have terrible aim, because I don't know how you miss someone at that close range, and so be it. But he
Well, it's
falls.
called plot armor, but
Yeah.
they miss him, but it's the fall that hurts him for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So they do find where he's at. He's crashing all these drugs, and basically it's a drug lab of Mr. Hyde.
Hmm. And then,
So
which that's a character.
that's a
I
deep cut.
It is a deep cut, and it's one I really don't know. Like, I'm familiar with Jekyll and Hyde, but like the Marvel versions is not one I'm overly familiar with. I've only read them in a handful of issues.
Yeah. Um, Fifth Jack saying tattletale cap. Yeah, they're going to go tell the parents.
I mean,
I
technically
warned
the
them.
kids
I
are
warned them.
minors,
I'm going
so
to narc on them.
I get it, but
Yeah.
it's Captain America. Once he thinks something is right, he's going to do it.
Yep. And so Wiccan comes to the aid of Eli, saying, "Wait a minute, what happened to your powers? Why are you bleeding?" He takes off, and then he's looking like he's putting a needle in his arm, like Green Arrow and Speedy.
Yep.
Speedy's a junkie at that, but that is exactly what they're homaging there with the needle. Though my assumption when I first read this was like he's pumping himself with mutant growth hormone,
Yep, and we'll I mean, we'll see what he is.
MGH, as it were.
MGH. We'll see what it's going to be, but that is definitely the story there.
Yep.
And
And you know what we forgot to say? Like we kept on talking about Craven, but we've got some programming notes. We totally forgot. I even put it in the show notes, and because we have to take a week off of Comic Book Club because we got Craven next week. So reminder. With Craven coming out the next week, remember the movie of the year, Wicked, watch out, Moana, your time is done. Deadpool and Wolverine, you ain't got a chance. Craven the Hunter is going to totally blow everyone away in one way, shape, or form. So we are not going live on Thursday night because Brent and I will be seeing the movie at some point during that day. And we will go live 9:10 Eastern Standard Time next Friday to do our spoiler-filled review of Kraven the Hunter.
Yes, where we will finally find out, should we have been Kraven the Kraven this whole time?
Everyone's going to be craving
Do
some
we
Kraven.
have a new blueprint?
No,
Or-
we retired that. Madam Web broke all our hearts.
Does Sony pull it out, or do they strike out for the year? We're going to find out next week.
Phrasing. Stop
I
that.
know what I said.
All right, so we'll be live next Friday at that point. So nothing dropping Friday morning in the feeds, but you'll have our audio dropping on Saturday morning. So, but if you want to join us live, Friday night, 9:10 Eastern Standard Time. So, Volume 239 in the books. Brent, tell people how they can follow you.
Brentech Prime on the socials. I am still technically on Twitter, but I'm actively trying to use it less. So honestly, just go to Blue Sky, where I think you can actually find me at just brentech.com on Blue Sky. Theirs is different, but I hooked it up to my site. So at brentech.com on Blue Sky is the best place to find me.
Yeah, I'm getting a little more active on Blue Sky. Trying to do probably more comic book content on there. A lot of the comic book creators have really flocked over there and really capitalizing on it.
Yeah.
So, it's nice to see it get a second life, because it came out. It came out when it did, when the first the exodus of Twitter happened, and then just kind of quietly there, and then everyone rediscovered it again. So
yeah.
But yeah, you can find me on all the socials at Chris Balga. You can follow this podcast still currently on Twitter at Marvel 8 Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUAPod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask Factor Fictions. DMs are open across the board. Continue to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, Brent. Kraven the Hunter predictions.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have a ton here.
You're really going to be honest?
I'm just not thinking about that movie very much. But I will say this. I'm really curious about what they're going to do with the Rhino. Because we really haven't seen a live-action Rhino yet. Yes, I know, for like 2 seconds at the end of Amazing Spider-Man.
Paul Giamatti is the blueprint for the Rhino.
Like, they're actually, like, it looks like they're doing a real comic version of the Rhino. And... yeah. I'm curious what they're going to see with it. So my prediction is I'm going to end up kind of liking them. Like, I'm going to end up kind of like it's, and part of that might just be, it's like, it's a new Spider-Man villain we haven't truly seen in live action before. But like, that's actually what I'm the most, I know we haven't seen Kraven before either, but I've heard enough about what they're doing with Kraven that I'm not super keen on it. But I'm so curious about the Rhino. I'm going in like I'm holding on to a lot of hope for this guy, man.
Brent's hope of this movie rests on the supporting cast member playing the Rhino.
He's probably in like 2 minutes of the entire movie. There, my prediction is he has less than 10 minutes of screen time in the Rhino suit.
Well, it's not a suit. I think he's transforming into a rhino.
So he's more like the Ultimate version. That's fine. Less than 10 minutes of screen time. That's my prediction.
Based on the trailers, I think his skin condition he's becoming the Rhino.
Yeah.
So, I've been saying they turn Kraven the Hunter into Animal Man, and the idea that now they're saying, oh, it's a serum. He's not gets bit by a tiger. He's got taken a serum to save his life, and he gets all these animal powers. I said, fine. I dog on this movie just because it's not my tempo. I'm not necessarily predicting good now. Now, our fun prediction has been, what will be the best performing movie? Will it be, Madam Web, Venom 3, Kraven the Hunter? And obviously, I think this will perform better than Madam Web.
I'm looking Madam Web's numbers up right now. Madam Web, worldwide box office of $100 million.
Okay, Madam Web, $100 million. Look up Morbius.
Why?
Because
Madam Web opened with 15 million, by the way.
Okay,
all right, Morbius.
15 million.
Let's see. Come on, numbers. You can load for me. The-numbers.com is where I go for these.
Okay. Good plug. They don't pay for us.
No, but it's better than Box Office Mojo.
Well, everything is better these days than him.
All right, Morbius, 162 million worldwide, and that opened to 39 million. That crushed Madam Web.
Okay, so
You said also compare it to Venom 3.
no, I'm not compared to Venom 3. I
Oh,
know
'cause Venom's gonna crush it.
Venom's at the top. Yeah, it's not even in the same conversation. So, all right. I will say this will open better than Madam Web,
But worse than Morbius.
but worse than Morbius. Yes.
I would agree with you. Agree
So,
with you. It's definitely opening, but I think it'll make more, because all our joking aside,
Yeah.
it is a time of year when people go to the movies.
It is the
And
time of the year,
so-
but in comparison to what has just recently happened at the box office with Wicked, Moana,
Unfortunately, Wicked, Moana, Gladiator are all still out. Red
Yep.
One is actually, it's not doing great, but it did all right. It won its opening weekend.
it's a Santa movie, so
And I honestly want to see it, and I just haven't yet. But it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough because a week after Craven comes out, you have legitimate family movies, in my opinion anyway, with Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I'm truly excited for that. I'm not gonna lie. The first two are way better than they have any right to be. Knuckles, the show,
Yep.
a little different story there. But regardless, the movies are great. And then you also have the Mufasa movie. I couldn't care less about that one, mainly because I like The Lion King, but I never even saw the original. I don't know what you call it, CGI, pseudo live action, photorealistic one. But I know my son really wants to see it, and I'm sure a lot of families are going to want to see that. And so those movies coming out a week later, legitimate family movies, man, this movie, Craven, it doesn't have any time.
does it win the weekend?
No.
What does win the weekend? Anything else?
Moana? Probably. I honestly probably Moana.
That'd be interesting.
Well, Moana
Yeah.
just came out the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So it's still, it's still pretty fresh. So I think this is technically its second weekend.
I mean, Wicked continue will probably it'd be maybe a back and forth between Wicked and Moana.
yeah, I'm gonna give it to Moana. It's a shorter movie. There's more showings of it, and my guess is, without having seen either of them yet, is that it's a little more family friendly. But maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen Wicked. It could be perfectly fine for kids.
Rotten Tomato scorers, does it crack 50%?
Dang, dude, why you gotta do them like that?
I'm just again, I just said 50% is the threshold.
I gotta look up our compares.
Okay.
All right, Madam Web with 11%. That's adorable. And Morbius with 15.
So does it beat Morbius?
Yeah, it'll beat Morbius.
Yeah, I think it'll beat Morbius.
Does it
I
crack 50?
I don't think it cracks 50.
It's not going to end at 50. I mean, it might crack it if the first few reviewers are positive towards it.
Yeah, you're right. I think it may crack 50, but I could see it fall by the end going below 50.
Yeah.
So.
And the audience score will be higher.
Oh yeah, because the audience in this one is just like they want it. It's an action movie, violent. At that point, it's gonna find an audience there, but it'll have a good opening weekend, but that'll be it. The word of mouth will be like, you don't have to see this. You could see Gladiator and get a better movie out of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
dang. Venom Let There Be, or I'm sorry, Venom The Last Dance didn't even crack 50. It's at 41.
Speaking of that, end credit scene. What are we getting? Are we gonna be mad at it, or are we gonna be like you're laughable?
Laughable.
Okay, laughable.
I don't think we're gonna be mad at it. I don't think we're gonna be as mad. Like when Morbius came out,
Morbius was mad. Morbius was a smack in the face.
They cashed, or they wrote some checks in those trailers, and in my opinion, they did not cash them. And so, but this hasn't done anything like that. I don't think I'm gonna be disappointed or mad. Now watch Tom Holland show up, but
don't waste that.
I know the Venom was the movie to have done that for.
Yes.
You know what? They might not even have one. They might not even have one. That's my final prediction. No post-credit scene for Craven.
Do we get a Spider-Man reference? We already know there's spiders in it, but is that the only spider? Do we get a legit Spider-Man reference in this movie? Nope. Okay,
No, we don't.
I'm with you. We just get these lovely hints of the character.
Yep.
I think this has to do with Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, I don't even think we'll get that much.
All right. So our time for fun is that now it's time to see, are people craving more Craven? Will they even be craving at that point? Brent and I are going to see it for you so you don't have to. And we look forward to seeing and talk with you about Craven the Hunter next week. God help us at that point. We'll see exactly. Does Sony go for 3 for 3 in the idea of they ruling the box office? Who knows? But we will see you all next week, Friday, 9 10 Eastern Standard Time at night. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.